Kevin Durant is now at Phoenix Suns in a move that saw Kevin Durant and TJ Warren get moved to Phoenix for Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and a 2028 pick swap. Let's talk about this from the Nets' point of view. I think this was a really good return. It's probably the best return that was available. And I think they're doing right by Kevin Durant by sending him to the Phoenix Suns where he wanted to go. You don't get an elite young talent like Scotty Barnes or Jaylen Brown, but both of those guys were clearly untouchable in the summer, so I don't know why that would have changed by now. You get Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, who are slightly older, I think both being 25 and 26 around there, but they're still young and they still have their whole primes ahead of them, and I think a lot of teams would be really interested in adding those types of guys in the offseason. Both of them fill in the niche of a 3-and-D wing, with Mikal Bridges being pretty good offensively outside of just the 3-ball. He's really developed his game there this year, and Cameron Johnson too has been, I think, really solid, and both of them are really switchable and good on the defensive end of the ball. You also get Jay Crowder, which I think they already moved. I don't remember the exact trade details on that, but I think he's already been moved from, I think, second-round picks here and there. A good move for the Nets. You know, they realized they weren't going to win this year. They didn't have enough to build a true contender around Kevin Durant. And now you kind of just get a look at your rebuild. You get to take stock of your assets and kind of play the field for the rest of the season and into the offseason, see if you can have any trades that warm up. Now let's talk about it for the Phoenix Suns. I think a lot of people were calling the Phoenix Suns, at least on Reddit from what I saw, people were like, oh, they're the favorites out west. Oh, the Phoenix Suns are a super team. And first of all, I really don't think they are. I think their defensive issues have become an even bigger issue now, losing 2 of their best wing defenders. I think their depth issues are even more glaring now, unless TJ Warren can be something special. But even then, I think at most he can replace the value of a Cameron Johnson, but not ever be more than that. You know, you still have worries about Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and now Kevin Durant's injury history. All of those guys have had dealt with a lot of injuries over the past couple of seasons, and that's really concerning. You know, what happens to DeAndre Ayton? Does he get even less touches? Is he going to be unhappy with his role? Is he kind of fine with just playing that fourth, maybe the third offensive option? But I still think that would be Chris Paul. I think those questions still all remain. How well can they acclimate Kevin Durant into their team? You know, he's still injured and he won't be back until after All-Star break, so they're only going to have about 25 games, I think, for all those guys to play together and mesh. So I think there's still a lot of questions from there. At the end of the day, you did just trade for Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant is a top 5 player this year, and having a top 5 player while you still have Devin Booker and Chris Paul and DeAndre and definitely make your team and your potential at a championship a lot higher than it was. And I think, you know, a lot of people have been really critical of the Suns over the last few seasons about, when will they make a big move? When are they going to go all in? And they did, and I think they went in on the right type of player. Kevin Durant, I think, fits seamlessly on this team on the offensive end of the ball. He's shown that he can play alongside ball-dominant guards and Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Russell Westbrook to a lesser extent in the OKC days. I think Devin Booker also has shown that he can play off-ball with Chris Paul, and hopefully with Kevin Durant. I'm really excited to see some of the 2-man actions they can run. I think it would be really interesting to see them do some high pick and roll with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, maybe even as Booker as the screen, and get a kind of a smaller guy on KD, you get a slower guy on Booker, and you can kind of pick and choose the matchup that you prefer the most. Let's look at this in the playoff picture, some of the potential matchups. First, when we're looking at the Dallas Mavericks, it's one of those things where both teams are going to be feasting on each other on the offensive, and that's really going to be a shootout, and it's going to come down to who has the more firepower. I think no one on the Suns is stopping Luka or Kyrie on the defensive end of the ball. No one on the Mavs is stopping Kevin Durant or Booker on the defensive side of the ball. I think that could be a really interesting matchup. I think I favored the Suns. I think they just have more talent overall. And while Luka is definitely probably the best player in that series, the Suns have the second and third best player by a pretty decent margin, I think. LA Clippers, I think I'm more worried about the Suns in a Clippers type of series just because the Clippers have the type of defenders to bother Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and Paul George. And they've shown they've been able to kind of match up pretty decently against some perimeter guys as well. And also the Suns will also once again lack the defensive wing stoppers to bother guys like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You're going to see that's going to be a continuous issue in all their playoff series. They're not going to have the wing depth to stop those guys. And there's a lot of great perimeter players in our league, especially out west. And when you're coming to the finals in the East, you're probably going to, if they make it to the finals, they're probably going to run into at least the Celtics or the Bucks, who do have really solid perimeter play, as well as guys who can bang it down low. Thinking about how they match up with the Warriors, same thing. It's going to be interesting to see what Steph Curry looks like by the time he comes back, and if the Warriors are even going to be in the playoffs by then. But I think that's an interesting matchup. I still would go with the Warriors there. I think they just have more on the defensive end to bother them. The Nuggets, I think some people think the Suns are now the favorites to come out of the West, like I said earlier, and I still have the Nuggets there. The Nuggets do match up really good against them. DeAndre Ayton was really good against Jokic when they've matched up before, and the Nuggets they do have good perimeter guards, but they don't have super elite stoppers there. But then vice versa, I don't really know who the Suns can put on an MPJ, a Jamal Murray. They have so much pace and space on the Nuggets, like it's going to be really difficult for the Suns to guard anyone. I think that's going to be the major issue, is how well this defense can look. And it's going to really come down on DeAndre Ayton being an elite rim protector. While I think he's good, he's going to really need to step it up. For both teams, I think this is a really good trade. I would give both teams probably an A+ for the Nets. No, probably just an A, because I didn't get any elite young talent, but I think it's a really good trade, and it's also a really exciting trade deadline move. I'm going to be going over more moves, like all the moves the Lakers made and stuff like that. If you like the video, like and subscribe.